this was a new moon night. I mean, just black as can be. When I got to the far side of this house, that smell was really, really strong. And I mean, I was shaking. I was terrified. I heard something move in the bushes beside this house. And I look over, and in the street light, I see it start standing up, and it keeps getting taller and taller. I sat there and I looked, and I could lock eyes with this thing for a good 4 seconds. And then it lets out this screaming roar that's like a physical hit. And it wasn't a roar, it wasn't a scream, it was a combination of both.
Right.
I
Right.
felt a physical force hit me in the chest. And it hit me so hard. I was holding my spear in a death grip. It hit me so hard, I dropped it.
Welcome back to the I Jupiter podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on Chester Smith. I contacted him through Facebook, just asked him, I seen something where he was posting some things, or I checked his profile and just seen like some of the things he was talking about. And I asked him if he wanted to come on the show and discuss them, and he was so grateful as to accept my my invitation, and now he's here with us today. If you keep finding yourself coming back to the I Jupiter podcast, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and leave a comment, share it if you enjoy your podcast in the MP3 side of format and you want to listen to it while you're working or on your way to wherever you're doing, vacations and such. All those links in the description. If you're on Spotify, please leave me a rating, and all those things are the best way to help the channel grow. We just recently hit 1,500 subscribers over here on YouTube. It's a very small feat, but it's a very difficult feat, and we're keeping on. We're trucking. We're keeping on trucking. That's what we're doing. We're going to keep on trucking. I'll get those words in the right position in a moment. So with all that out of the way, let's welcome to the show, Chester Smith.
Hello, everybody. It is a pleasure and an honor to be on your show. And by the way, congratulations on the 1,500 subscribers. That is definitely a feat to achieve.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So dude, so you accepted my invitation. We just met each other briefly in the backstage there in the green room area, as I call it. Tell me a little bit about yourself and where we can find you and things of that nature.
Well, right now, I'm a cryptid researcher, mainly Bigfoot, in the Middle Tennessee area, and I've got a partner that goes out with me, and we've had several experiences in the Middle Tennessee area in some of the national parks. I've done campouts with groups in the LBL area.
Okay.
And while we're out there, I was in the tent, and I kept hearing something snapping its jaws shut right outside the tent. And I'm like, uh-oh, reached down and grabbed my 45 because there was a bear and her two cubs outside of our tent walking around out there. But also, while I was out at LBL, I was out in the middle of the parking area, and it was just me and my friends, and I'm looking at them, and I get hit in the middle of my back by a rock. and it happened twice, and there was no trees up there where anything could have fallen out.
Wow.
So there's definitely some activity out in the LBL area.
Almost certainly. I've always heard like, the rocks being thrown, but I've never actually heard of someone being actually struck by a rock. So that's new to me.
It was a small rock, but I mean, it had some force to it. I'm glad it wasn't any bigger. It was just a small pebble, but
So
it's just fun.
being in Middle Tennessee, you probably know who Harley Owens is, who is in Eastern Tennessee, and you probably know who Harley Owens is, also a big researcher out there that I know of.
I've never met him, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but then you probably know who Daryl Denton is and Martin Groves.
Yeah, me and Daryl, I've met Daryl a couple of times. Me and him are good friends.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he's a great guy. Great guy. He always
Okay.
always helps me out, and he always has been very friendly and has had a lot of encounters as well. So take me back to the beginning. What got you interested in being a researcher?
Okay, back in 1988, I've told this story several times, so I'm gonna just go through the highlights. I hiked in the Appalachian Mountains, and it was in Kanawha City. It was behind the Kanawha Mall, which is not there anymore. But behind the Kanawha Mall, you cross a set of railroad tracks, and there's a road there. It's not McCorkle. McCorkle is the other direction. I can't remember the name of the road, but I'd go up 57th Street. And that's where I lived, is up there in the Holler. And if anybody don't know what a holler is, before phones, they would holler down the hill to get their kids to come in for lunch and dinner.
I
And
thought he
that's
called it that.
Holler.
I just thought it was a small valley, but okay, sure. That's
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that.
Valley with houses all up through there. A lot of them are halfway up the side of a mountain. And they would just holler down the hill to get the kids to come in. And that's how they
cool.
got their name of the Holler. But
That's awesome.
anyway, I lived in the Holler, and up in that area, the kids did not play in the woods. I didn't know why. I mean, I grew up in the mountains and stuff. Well, my grandpa, he lived in Kaplan, West Virginia, and we used to visit him a lot. He had a house up on the side of the mountain, and everything they ate come out of the woods, the water, or the garden. They didn't buy any food. The only thing they bought was my grandpa's twist tobacco. They don't make anymore. Anyway, one day he come out of the woods after he'd been hunting, and he's like, sold his gun. He got rid of all of his guns except for his old shotgun, and they moved.
Wow.
And after that, he kept telling me whenever we would visit them when they moved to Logan, boy, you better stay out of those woods or the boogers are going to get you. I didn't think nothing of it. I thought he was just trying to scare me to keep me out of the mountains, so I didn't pay no attention. Well, when we moved to Kanawha City from Rand, West Virginia, the mountain was like, open the back door, and they had cut in the hillside to put the house there. You open the back door,
Right.
you can reach out and touch it. I mean, it was that close. I could jump from that cut onto the roof of the house. I did it all the time. Anyway, I would go up that mountain further and further back up in there, and I found an old logging road. And exploring, I found a gravel road that people with four-wheelers and off-road vehicles go playing in, and the locals call that Rush Creek. I don't know if that's the real name of it or not. That's just what they called it. But anyway, there was an old strip mine back in there I used to hang out with and play. But getting back on track, I keep going further and further back in nothingness. And I take the same route back home. And I started noticing after a while that something was following me out of those mountains. I mean, its tracks were on right where I always went. Its tracks followed it. And then I started seeing these giant footprints. I mean, 18 inches long and about 8-9 inches wide around the house in the grass. Because in the early morning, I mean, there'd be dew on the grass, so the impressions would stay.
Right.
And I kind of blew it off. I'm like, well, my dad's got Bigfoot. I guess they're his, Never thought nothing of it. But every once in a while, I go up there and I get the feeling of being watched. And, it's like this, oh, crap feeling. And I get out of the mountains and go back home. Well, it got to the point where I was spending a couple of nights or a weekend up there and telling my mom and dad that, hey, I'm staying at somebody else's house. And I wasn't. And that's the thing, too, is all up through that holler, nobody had sleepovers. And before dark, all the kids had to be inside or they got grounded. I mean, they got in serious trouble for being outside after dark.
And that is so unusual. What people don't understand nowadays in 2025 or in this time period, we were in the 80s. I mean, I'm the child of the 90s. I was born in 1980. So we were always at other friends' house. Even when I'm from Baltimore City. And even then we'd had to stay around the neighborhood, but we were still allowed to like go around and stuff like that. So especially in like West Virginia where you're talking about. That was a common occurrence to be out.
Well, actually, in the 80s, whenever I lived in South Carolina, my mom allowed me to hop on my bicycle and ride my bicycle 30 miles along the side of the highway to go see a girl.
Yeah, dude, that was the way it was.
And what she wasn't even home. She wasn't
Right.
home when I was there. But yeah, they just, basically here's your bicycle, you're on your own.
Yeah, bye.
If you're not going to be home by dinner, you let us know. And well, anyway, this thing kept following me out of the mountains. And I'm like, I didn't know what it was. Every once in a while, I would see it way off in the distance. And I'm like, what's that? Somebody out here hiking back this far? I mean, it's not a trail because there was hiking trails at the bottom of 57th Street that people used all the time. But I mean, this is just straight wilderness trees. So I went and I found me some sticks that were leaning up against trees. And I found this pond back up in there. And I'm like, I'm going to camp out this weekend, build a lean-to, and go fishing, see if there's anything in it. Well, this was like in the middle of the week, and this is summertime, so there wasn't no school. Anyway, I also just recently got this cheap survival knife for my birthday, so I was going to try that out. And so I loaded up my canteen, went up there, built my lean-to, come back down with the plan to going up there in the weekend and camping all weekend. Well, when I went back up there that weekend, and I mean, we're talking way back up there, miles, my lean-to was smashed. It was destroyed. Also, at this time, I was reading the book White Fang because I love reading. And if you've ever read the book White Fang, it goes into a lot of detail about how animals mark their territory.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. I mean,
yeah.
Oh man, I was
so
early 90s.
Bright idea in my 13-year-old head. I'm going to rebuild my lean-to, and then I'm going to go around and pee on a bunch of trees as high as I can and mark this as my territory. Brilliant. No, big mistake. I went back home, and the next time I went up there, that whole mountaintop was destroyed. Trees this big around were broken off 6-7 feet in the air and thrown. It's like a tornado hit it, but there wasn't no strong winds or storms. I mean, I had really made something mad up there. So I pick up a stick, sharpen it into a spear. I'm scared to death. And I start backing out of the mountain slowly, and I've got the feeling this whole time that I'm in imminent danger. I mean, it was absolutely a truly terrifying experience.
And like it was like a palpable feeling.
Yes. I mean, I'm getting cold chills right now just talking about it.
Okay, dude.
Every time I talk about it, I think back on how much danger I was actually in.
Right.
And I keep thinking myself, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky this creature that I didn't know what it was and I made mad. I'm lucky it decided to scare me and scold me like a child than it did actually wanting to kill me. Because if it wanted me dead, I wouldn't be here. I'd be a missing 411 case. And I think the only reason why it didn't tear me apart is because I was a child. And I believe that's the only reason why I didn't die that day.
Okay.
So I come down out of the mountains and I'm so terrified. I'm like, my house is about a mile down the road from where my friend's is. I need to get to someplace safe quick. So this ravine behind my friend's house was so steep that we had to dig hand and footholds to get down it and back up it. And this is the only place on this ravine beside this road that you could cross. The rest of it is choked with briars and everything else, and it's impossible. A group of expert climbers could not scale this thing without cutting their way through all these briars and stuff.
Okay.
So needless to say, I went down, back up, and my friends were outside, but they were in trouble. They got grounded. Two brothers are always fighting, so they're always grounded. Okay. Well, they were doing work, and I just sat down at the picnic table, and I was allowed to talk to them. I laid my spear down. I'm sitting at the picnic table talking to them, and we're goofing off, talking about girls or what have you. And guess what? I stayed too long, and it got dark, and they got caught outside after dark, and they got in a lot more trouble. And this was a new moon night. I mean, just black as can be, but there were streetlights along the left side of the road. On the right side of the road, there was only two houses. One was an abandoned brick house that was falling down, and I looked on Google Earth. You could still see the foundation and the slab for that house there. The next house was my friend's Uncle Wade's house, and he was the only person in that area that owned a dog. And it was a very vicious pit bull. I mean, he had to keep it on a chain and a muzzle, but nobody else in that whole valley owned a dog or any outside pets whatsoever, for that matter.
That's weird.
And I never even saw a stray cat.
Wow.
You know, I mean, there was no outside animals. You know, you hardly ever saw a squirrel. The only creatures you saw were birds. I never saw any deer. Nothing like that. No rabbits. Nothing. Anyway, it gets dark. I pick up my spear and I'm like, oh no, I remember now why I went there. You know, stupid kid, you're going to forget something like that once you get somewhere safe and you get distracted.
Right.
That's what happened. I walked out to the road and I started walking down the road, and it was about 200 yards from Curtis and Keith's mobile home down to that brick house that was abandoned. And I get to that beginning of that brick house and I, stop right there in my tracks. I'm like, uh-oh. You know, because I figured, okay, it's nighttime. I could sneak home now. You know, maybe I could just sneak home. I was being real quiet. Nope. I got to that house and this god awful smell hit me. And what was worse is an extreme feeling of imminent danger.
Right.
And so I'm tiptoeing past this house. And I'm like, okay, I still got street lights. There's a couple of houses nearby. If I get into trouble, I'll just run to a house and beat on the door. Well, I get to the far end of that house, the downhill side. Now, mind you, this road, the hill is so steep, you didn't run down it. You didn't ride no skateboard down this hill, and you did not ride a bicycle down it. You could get on a bicycle, and it's an asphalt road. But you get on a bicycle and start going down it. When you hit the brakes, you'll slide. You'll never slow down. It's that steep.
Okay.
In the wintertime, people park their cars at the bottom of it and walk up, or they stay home. Anyway, whenever it gets down at the bottom of the hill, it goes straight, or you could turn right, and that right turn is the road that I lived on. Well, if you know anything about physics, or if you ever run down a steep hill and it goes flat, your legs give out on you. I mean, you'll face plant.
Right.
When I got to the far side of this house, that smell was really, really strong. And I mean, I was shaking. I was terrified. I heard something move in the bushes beside this house. And I look over, and in the street light, I see it start standing up. And it keeps getting taller and taller. Now, the wall on this house was about 8 feet. This thing stood up, and its shoulders were even with that 8-foot wall. It was over 8 feet tall. And I mean, it was broad as can be. I could tell in the lighting that it wasn't covered in fur. It was covered in hair. And the hair seemed to be longer in its arms, and I couldn't see its hands. Its arms were so long, its hands were down in the bushes. And the bushes were like, about chest high, and we said 4.5 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And its hands were down, and I couldn't see them. I sat there and I looked, and I could lock eyes with this thing for a good 4 seconds. And then it lets out this screaming roar that's like a physical hit. And it wasn't a roar. It wasn't a scream. It was a combination of both.
Right.
I felt a physical force hit me in the chest. And it hit me so hard. I was holding my spear in a death grip. It hit me so hard, I dropped it. And when I dropped that, it started coming through those bushes at me. And I turned and I ran. And I'm telling you, I've never run this fast in my entire life. I ran with all I had. That thing come crashing through those thick vines and bushes, blackberry bushes. Mm-hmm. And I heard its feet hit that road, and it was right behind me. I mean, I could feel it breathing.
God damn, dude.
I get down to the bottom of this hill, and I was wearing one of those Tony Hawk skateboard shirts. They're real. I mean, those are tough cloth. This thing grabbed the back of my shirt trying to stop me, and it ripped the back of my shirt off, and I just kept going.
Oh, my God, dude.
I go to the house, and it's rip open the screen doors, rip open the front door, slam them shut, and then I dive under my bed because my bedroom was a glassed-in porch with drapes hung up. It had like 4-foot walls and then picture windows all the way around on 3 sides.
Okay.
So, I mean, I had no protection in that room. It was just black.
Right.
Well, I dive under my bed and I'm just hysterical. Well, my dad comes walking in there or stomping in there because I made a big racket coming in the house and disturbed his TV show. He reached under the bed and grabbed me by the ankle and snatched me off and under the bed. And I mean, I'm hysterical. He slaps my face, drags me into the living room, throws me in a chair, and says, "What the heck has got into you?" Well, he uses a cuss word.
Yeah.
And I told him, my mom and sister were sitting right there. I said, "Something chased me out of the mountains and it tried to grab me." And they're like, "What are you talking about? What chased you out of the mountains?" I said, "I don't know what it is." Because at this time, I didn't know anything about cryptids, Bigfoot.
Right. Right. Okay.
And
So for you, it's like a monster, like some kind of monster or something. You don't know what
to
it is.
me,
Right.
this was a giant hairy monster that was trying to rip me in half.
Right.
Well, anyway, I said it chased me all the way home. And my dad's like, "Yeah, whatever." My sister's laughing at me saying I'm lying. And I stood up and turned around and they saw the back of my shirt ripped off and four widely spaced fingernail marks down my back. And my mom says that my dad put his hand up there and he couldn't touch all the
Right.
marks with one hand. And I mean, my dad was 6'4", 280 pounds. He was a big man, construction worker. He had bricks for hands and he couldn't touch all four of the fingernail marks on my back. I mean, it didn't rip the skin, but it was like red streaks.
Right. Right.
Anyway, we had a street light out in front of our house and I saw a shadow go by a window and I'm like, "There it is." It was walking around the outside of the house.
Like circling it.
It was circling the house.
Okay.
Well, my dad goes over to the window, the living room window that was over there by his typewriter. And he peeled back the curtain just a little bit and looked. And when he looked back, his face was white as a sheet. I mean, we're talking Korean War veteran, white as a sheet.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And he looked at me and he goes, "Boy, what the heck did you bring out of those mountains after us?" And I'm like, "I don't know what it is. I don't know." He goes, "Everybody kill the lights and get your backsides in bed." I'm not cussing.
Right. Yeah. Of course. We're
But
being
I mean,
we're being politically correct. It's no
yeah,
big deal.
yeah. Yeah, he made us all go to bed. Well, I went in my room, and again, no protection, glass all the way around it, just drapes. And I get in my bed, and I'm laying there in bed, and I guess eventually an adrenaline crash gets to me, and I pass out.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I woke up later that night, and I heard something tapping the windows around my room and sniffing like a bloodhound sniff. Like, this is loud. I mean, this is like, if you ever heard a deer blow in the woods, it was like
Yes.
that.
Of course. Of course. Yes.
It was like that loud. I mean, it was extremely loud. It was almost deafening. But it was walking around my window sniffing, and I was like, "Nope." I got out of my bed and I crawled under my bed, pulled the blankets down on top of me, buried myself under the blankets, and waited till morning. Well, anyway, for weeks, I mean, weeks and weeks and weeks, this thing was visiting the house every night. And of course, I was staying out of the mountains. I was mainly
Oh
staying
yeah.
in the house. I was mainly staying in the house and in the yard. But this thing was outside the house every night for weeks. And my dad, he worked for Charleston Parks and Recreation. The
Okay.
city of
This is West Virginia. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Charleston Parks and Recreation. We lived in Kanawha City. The place he worked was in Charleston. Go up to his car that was on the carport before the sun came up.
Okay.
Anyway, he went out one day to go to his car and he went on to work. And when he come home that day, he had quit his job. That I guess he did it because he didn't want to go out, without the sun being up. I think he'd run
Really?
into something that night or that early morning. But my
That
dad did what he normally did. He started drinking heavily again, started yelling and screaming, smacking me around. He was an alcoholic and he was abusive. And this went on for a couple of weeks. And also back then, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have fax machines or anything like that. So what my dad would do was he would write a bunch of bad checks, go to these places that would cash checks for him, about $25,000, $30,000. He would pocket the money and then we would move. And we ended up moving from Canal City, West Virginia, down to Greer, South Carolina, to get away from this. I mean, that's how bad it scared him.
It's the most for me because I never hear. I mean, I've heard of like bluff charges and things of that nature. Or, I also run into people who with the orbs and many different things. Everyone has their experiences are different, but I've never heard such an aggressive encounter before, especially when it comes to and you believe it's then Sasquatch or Bigfoot. That's what you believe it to be now.
Absolutely, because in the weeks that followed, I didn't hear it outside my bedroom one night, and I'm looking, it's like dark in the window, and I'm like, well, where's the street light? I'm dumb kid. I walk over and I pull the curtain open about so far, and when I do, it squats down and its face is right in front of mine in the window. It is. I mean, our faces are like this far apart, and let me tell you, its head was it was gigantic.
Now being a man who you are, an adult, I'd imagine you're 50 because I was doing the math. I'm 45. And yeah, I'm pretty good. You said you were 13 and 88. I was like, I was 8, so that's 5 years. Yeah. So, have you ever gone back there?
Only as a truck driver. I used to drive truck over the road, and I would go through there, but I would get chills every time I passed McCorkle Avenue, which was the road that you turned off the interstate to go back up in that area.
Yeah,
every
man.
time I go by McCorkle Avenue, I got cold chills.
I can imagine, dude. I can imagine. And okay, so now that you do what you do, it's not as okay because that is connected to some type of what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of drama from your past, or what's the word I'm thinking of? You probably know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's connected to that, and now you're in Central Tennessee, and it's so when you go out now to the LBL, because I've heard Martin Grove's story, the LBL massacre, amongst many others. And it's not as frightening for you to go in the LBL as to consider going back to where you grew up.
No, yes, it is. I never go out in the woods alone. I don't ever go out in the woods without a 45 and a 12 gauge. Period. Okay. I won't go out there without a 45, a 12 gauge, and somebody with me I can trust.
Okay.
I mean, somebody I can trust to where they're not going to take off.
Right. Are you a hunter or a fisherman?
Fishing and hunting, but I can't hunt really anymore because I had a traumatic back injury and I don't walk very well anymore.
Hey, buddy, I understand. I don't have what you have, but I'm a former Army soldier. My back isn't what it used to be anyway. But yeah, I was just wondering if that what I'm asking. So like, okay, so maybe years later when you're in your mid 20s, 30s to be able to shit and move around, you would go hunting. So was it like a process to be able to go back into the forest after this happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have to keep telling myself if it wanted me dead, I wouldn't be here. And I have to keep reminding myself with that when the terror starts coming back over me again. Because for the longest time, I mean, years and years and years, I wouldn't go more than 100 yards back in the woods.
Right.
Period. I mean, that was my limit of 100 yards. I have never in my entire life gone that far back in the woods again.
I can't even imagine going back 100 yards, man. I can't even imagine that. I mean, if that happened to me, I don't know, man. I can't put myself in your shoes, but I've been scared before, but I've never been. That's a different kind of fear. That's a different kind of PTSD. That's a whole different situation. So I think it was also you who wrote me. I mean, I'm not just kind of not trying to move on and, to put that away. It's just that it's a very frightening encounter. I've never heard anything quite like that, Chester. I've never heard anything quite like that, where it actually rips the shirt off your back. Wasn't you also said that you've had, if I go back through our conversation?
Well, I have a theory real quick about missing 411. I mean, how many cases do you hear about somebody's out hiking and they're going to step off the trail and use the bathroom and they disappear forever?
Right. That's a very common occurrence. Yes. Okay,
now, most manly men, guys and everything, what are they going to do when they step off the woods? They're going to take a leak on a tree.
Yes.
So you're essentially marking your territory there.
That's a very good idea. Dude, that is a very good point. That's your experience. Okay, so you're a young kid being 13 and you doing it. It's
Yeah,
different than a full-grown adult with all the testosterone that's within the urination or within the urine. So they
right.
probably see that as an imminent threat on their domain, and he
And you
just
got
takes
a
them out of there.
mature adult male that would consider themselves an alpha, and they go out there and mark territory that is not theirs as their own. That is a physical challenge.
Right, right. Yeah, dude. I mean, I've heard some other stories where like they'll just kind of like I think they were doing the deer drive and the person didn't come back, and
Mhm.
they were calling for him. They could hear him, but they couldn't see him. And then it would the next day they would they can't find him, and then the next day he would hear him again, but can't see him. He's farther away until one day they didn't hear him anymore. Those kind of ones, or there was one with the child that was on the spectrum somewhere.
Yeah,
He was up at the top of a ridge, and
yeah.
then minutes later or whatever, not too long later, he was like several hundred yards away, and they don't know how he got there. There's so many cases of that, but
Right.
it might be a very good piece of the puzzle that I haven't heard or considered before. So
Well, I always tell everybody kick leaves, make bare dirt, pee right there, and then cover it up.
cover it up. Yeah,
Everybody do that in the woods.
that's a good idea. It's a good idea because I mean I'm from Maryland. I mean I'm from the like right outside of the rural part of Maryland. We have it's very
Right.
beautiful out there too. But Western Maryland, I mean I remember being a kid hearing some screams in the forest, but looking back, that could have been that could have been like a cougar or something out there. But it was pretty scary because the people from there had never heard that before. So
Right.
they were in Pennsylvania. They're like, we don't know what that is, and then it just kind of disappeared. I mean, I've had poltergeist encounters. I've had a few, Hat Man, but never any cryptid encounters. Although they're starting to show the way up here in Mexico. There's people who are seeing a thing called Nahual, which is
Mhm.
basically like the Mayan version of Skinwalker. So
Right.
that's starting to rear its head through here too. And I have talked to Tom Cantrell. He's a friend of Bob Gimlin's, and he was like, "Yeah, they're down there too. You just don't see them because the jungle here is so." Right now in the rainy season, man, you can't see 15 yards in, and that's it. You really can't see anything. Turkey could be right there, and you won't see it. And
Yep.
yeah, so it's pretty incredible. So now you do cryptid research. I mean, so what does that entail with you? How do you go about it? Where do you go? What encounters have you
Well,
experienced later in
we got a
life?
friend of mine. We have people that have private property that they live on, and they're having encounters and experiences on those properties. And we go out there and set, and we'll do gifting and things like that. And we've got several pictures of them on the FLIR. One time I had just set my camera down because we were driving the back roads trying to look at the back side of it. I'd set my camera down. My buddy Billy was looking the other direction, and there's this old abandoned house here with it's got a carport and a shed. Anyway, I look over, and first I notice this red colored hand on the corner of the shed up by the peak. And then I look up, and its head is looking over the corner of the shed at us. And I'm like, oh, crap. And I didn't even think. I didn't have my pistol on me. I didn't have my shotgun on me. What do? I yank open the door of the truck and go running after this thing. Well, Billy, he throws the truck up in park and he comes around the hood and he got to see it pull back as it was running away. Well, by the time I got to the shed, it was in the woods like 200 yards away and gone. I mean, these things are fast.
Yeah, they book it. Yeah, I've heard of many
It is
encounters.
needless to say, I mean, we've had that happen. We've had rocks thrown at us. We went out in this big field. It's probably 5 acre field that they had
Okay.
just mowed. It had corn in it. And we took my little UTV out there and I threw apples all over this field. I just scattered them out like 10, 15 pounds of red apple. Well, we went back up on the hill because the hillside that we sit at overlooks the field. And we sat out there. Of course, Billy, he's a truck driver. He could fall asleep anywhere, which makes me jealous.
Oh
But we're,
man.
we're sitting up there in fourth chairs, and we've been up there a few hours. It was about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I mean, he just zonks out, snoring. And I'm like, okay, Billy, you're tired. It's time for us to cut out and head home. And he's like, yeah, okay. So we put the chairs up, load the UTV up, and he go back to his place, and then I drive home. Well, we drove out there the next day to check on the apples and check our trail cams that we set out. The one apple that the trail cam was faced at, it was gotten the next morning by a squirrel, but it stayed there all night, wasn't touched. All the other apples in that field, it's like something gathered up all the apples. and sat down in the middle of the field where I put 3 of them in like a pile.
Yeah.
It sat down there and it picked the apples apart. The stems were sitting there. All the little plastic-like flakes that are in the apple were there, and the seeds were there, but none of the apple meat was left. I mean, they picked these things meticulously apart. No animal out in there is going to sit there and pick an apple apart. It's just going to eat the whole apple.
Right.
But
And,
this,
and the one, but the one in front of the trail cam was not touched.
not touched. It was gotten the next morning. We saw a squirrel steal it on camera.
Right. But that's so, you hear that too, where they're somehow very aware of electronics, and that they also affect the electronics too. So that there's something with that too, that
I
they
trail
interfere
camera.
with it, or they're connected with it or something. Yeah.
Brand new trail camera. I used like 2 or 3 times. I put it out here because something come up to the side of the house. By the way, I live real rural, halfway at the side of a mountain. Something come back there, and back wall of the house where my wife sleeps, we have an air conditioner in it. And she woke up and said, "What the heck?" I mean, screamed it. So I go back there, and it was like something was pressuring the wall so hard that the wood was popping and creaking. I thought it was going to push the wall down.
You mean the siding, or you mean like the framing?
The framing was
Wow.
popping. The 2x4s were cracking and popping. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Well, I went out there the next day and I've got pictures of it. There's 2 perfect sets of fingerprints and handprints on that back wall. They're still there to this day. This was earlier this year I did it, but they're still there to this day where this thing come up and pushed the wall.
Wow. If it was daylight outside, I'd have you go out there and show me that. That would be incredible.
I can send you a picture of them.
Oh yeah,
I've also
I'll
got.
pop it on. If it's okay with you, I'll pop them on in at the end of the show so people can see it.
Yeah, that's fine, no problem.
Okay, sure. Okay.
I've got a picture in the sand down where I go fishing. I walked down there to go fishing, and I didn't pay attention to where I stepped. And I stepped on the track. Now, at the time, I weighed like 220 pounds. I'm down to 170 now. But I barely made a dent in that sand. Now, this track is a good inch deep in this sand. I tried jumping up and down. I couldn't do it.
Is
But
that the picture you sent me? I think you sent me a few pictures.
it might be. It's a track in the sand, and you can see
Yeah, the toes and everything.
You can see
Yeah.
the mid-tarsal break in that track. Now, I've also got a drone picture where I flew my drone over our research area at the swamp. And it looked like there's somebody standing there, but it's like straight above their head. It looks like somebody standing there or a log. Well, this area of the swamp you can't get to. You're going to sink up and get stuck, and you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be calling 911. You can't get back there.
So you flew your drone over it?
And I seen it while one of our other researchers goes over our pictures and videos, and she's seen it. But this thing is standing on the edge of the swamp, and it's facing straight where we were. But we couldn't see it because of the trees in between us. But my drone got looking in our direction. And of course, I got a couple of whistles whenever I flew my drone over that area. It whistled at it, and then we started seeing rocks go up in the air. And I'm like, okay, I'm bringing my drone back before I lose it. $700 drone.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose that.
So you also wrote me that you grew up in a haunted house. Tell me about that.
Actually, what it was is I spent the night in a house that was haunted.
Okay.
And what it is my ex's daughter and this guy got married, and they moved into this house in Arkansas, and I can't remember the town because they only lived there like a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Anyway, we decided we're going to go down and visit, help them unpack their furniture and stuff. So we help them unpack and, set everything up. We go out, buy pizza and everything, have a couple of beers, not much, but, a couple. And we blow up an air mattress in this back bedroom that has a concrete floor, and it's got like one of those old wall-mounted twist knob furnaces. You twist the knob on, and then you have to adjust it down once it gets warm enough, and then it just stays on. Well, this room also had one of those slide bolts in it. You lift up, slide it over, push it down, locks the door from inside. Nobody outside can get in.
Okay.
Well, they had this little poodle puppy, and they let it run around the house. Well, I lay down with my ex, throw a sleeping bag over me. I start to doze off. And then all of a sudden, I'm freezing cold. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I pull the sleeping bag off and I look, and that door is wide open. And that furnace has been turned off. And I'm like, okay. So I turn it back on, latch the door again, yank on it a couple times, and I go lay down. This happened several times. I mean, I can't sleep because this door keeps opening and the furnace keeps getting turned off. And I mean, you have to physically turn the knob to turn the furnace off. And I'm getting sick of it. Well, the last time it happened, that little poodle puppy jumped on me before I realized the door was open. Get in here. The door's open again. So I start petting the dog, and all of a sudden the dog starts growling and physically tracking something around the room that I don't see. I can't see it, but the dog is tracking it and growling at it. And I'm like, I've had enough of this. Pick the dog up, put it outside, shut the door, latch it, turn the furnace back on, and lay down. And it'd been 2 or 3 minutes after I laid down. You know how you can get the feeling that somebody's face is up in yours if you got it under.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Same feeling. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. This is weird. And all of a sudden I get in my face. I yank that blanket down. There's nothing there. I get up. I go out there, turn the furnace back on for her, shut the door. I'm like, I'm making a cup of coffee. This is 2 o'clock in the morning. So I go out there and I start making a pot of coffee. And it didn't, halfway done with the pot of coffee, my ex comes out. And she goes, there's something going on in that back room. I'm like, tell me about it. It's been messing with me all damn night. And so we get our coffee. We're sitting on the couch. And a couple hours later, they get up. And they're like, what are you doing up so early? And I'm like, there's something going on in that room. It wouldn't let me sleep. And she, her daughter was like, yeah, we kind of waited to see if you guys would say something like that because we'd had strange stuff going on in here. And I'm like, okay, like what? They start telling me that stuff's been knocked off the walls and things like that. And then her daughter proceeds to tell me that every time she takes a shower, she gets groped by something that is not there.
Oh my God, dude.
Well,
that is horrifying.
I go, and
I felt that.
And I mean, this is like a stone house, It's a stone house with wood frame on the inside, regular roof. So I go looking around, and they said the landlord said there's somebody's stuff in the garage. Don't mess with it. Well, I go in there and I start looking in this box of pictures, and I find a picture that's scorched of a police officer, a lady, and a kid. And the picture's burnt. The picture's scorched, and it's a police officer, a woman, and a kid. So I go back in the house and I go and pull out my pocket knife, go up to a door frame, and I scrape the wood. It's black underneath. It's black underneath. That house has been burnt. I'm like, okay. I said, I need to do a little bit more investigating. So I go into town and I go up to this little mom and pop's diner because I see a police car outside. I walk in, it's an older deputy. And I like I said, I don't remember the town. I don't remember the address. I was like 23 when this went on. So, I mean, it's been way too long ago. But anyway, I went in and I talked to a police officer. I said, mind if I sit down and talk to you for a minute? And he said, sure. And so I sat down and started talking to him, and I told him about that house and the strange stuff that's going on in it. He goes, yeah, nobody can rent that house for very long. They rarely stay a month, maybe 2 months. Everybody's in and out of that house. And he said somebody that was on the police force lived there. And he was at work and he did something where he had to go home early. And he cut his wife in bed with the neighbor. So he pulled out his service weapon. He shot the neighbor, shot his wife, shot his kid, set the house on fire, and let the house completely.
That'll do it.
It not burn down completely.
That'll do it, man. That trauma is always, it seems to be something that is connected. Like when something really awful happens with these hauntings, not all of them. Some of them are just, because it's old, or even like older hospitals, and like in the 80s they shut down the insane asylums. All those places have that kind of thing because of the weirdness that happened there. But
a lot of stuff happened in those asylums in the 70s and 80s, and a lot of unscrupulous things that happened in there. I mean, talk to people that have been a resident of them, and the horror stories they could tell you that were done to them in those places is, I mean, it's enough to give you nightmares.
Yeah, yeah, I can only imagine, man. So I mean, so even though you're having difficulties walking, this seems to be, I just wanted to hear that part. I always enjoy just hearing this because I've been touched by something that reached up between the bed and put its hand on my chest when I was 8. So and had a door slammed in my face, and all those kind of things. And it messed me up. But I enjoy hearing it because I don't want to feel, because people come on these shows, like yourself and others,
Right.
and there's a lot of people who don't know how to say it to somebody, because of the mocking and the ridicule. So,
if somebody laughs at me or calls me a liar, I look at them and say, look here, you have tens of thousands of eyewitness reports of Bigfoot, tens of thousands. Now, how many eyewitnesses do you need to put somebody in prison for life? One. You need one eyewitness to put somebody in prison for life. And we have tens of thousands of eyewitnesses for a Bigfoot, but I'm a liar.
Yeah.
That's the way I put it to them every time.
Yeah. From all over. And the thing is too, it's not from one area. It's not one type that's being seen. The booger type, there's some that have like the squared off teeth, or some with the conical heads. It's the ones that are smaller, like in Florida. And then they have them Australia, they got the yowie. Then you have they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And I just don't understand why they're not being like, why it's not seen as a normal thing. It's like, the duck-billed platypus. We didn't know it existed. Those large chimpanzees that they found that were, lion killers in the Congo and stuff. And now it's like, oh, it's accepted. But this thing is in right now, or in the forest of, all over the world. And yet it's still not talked about. And I think it's, for me personally, it's some type of cover up of some type, because, think about all the, people won't go in the forest anymore, all the revenue, all the forestry, all the lumber and the mining, all that will be affected because people are going to go, they need to be protected.
Right.
Or
and it'll be
something more sinister.
Place of woods, a protected area.
Right.
It'll ruin the hunting industry, all of it.
Right. So it's a lot. It's also, it would undermine that superiority of every government. Like, oh, there's some, large other species out there in the forest that is just like us. Once again, his podcast, the podcast is one of those guys.
Okay, come back on.
Yeah, that's a weird thing that you're having going on with your Wi-Fi. I've never experienced that before. It's about every 5 minutes.
Yeah. I have to reboot my phone and my Wi-Fi at the same time.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I just have a lot to do, but it's all good, man. It's all good. Don't take it. I won't take it the wrong way. I've talked to people who are on the satellite dish kind, and some of those can be rough too. I've had some really rough ones sometimes, but I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing with me today, man. This is it always seems to have a natural feeling when it comes to an end, and it's always about an hour, so this one's 49, so we're good nonetheless.
I've got a story about a rake too we were going to touch on
the rake. I'll tell you what, can I offer you the possibility that one time you come on a live show with me?
Absolutely, that's fine. No problem.
Yeah, if we can do that, we'll make it where we, maybe rehash a little bit of this, and then we can go into the rake and whatever else you'd like to talk about, and then we can field some questions on my live.
I have experiences and stuff that have happened here at the house too. My wife had experiences here at the house as well. She hasn't physically seen one, but she has felt like the ultrasound, or the ultrasonic sounds that it makes. And because she went outside and it was like messing around out there. And she went out there with a shotgun, and it gave her like a warning. It scared the crap out of her. She come back in the house.
Ultrasound. Yeah, my girlfriend was telling me about that. She had to hear what sounded like radio frequency, and and like her hair stood up on end, and then it felt like it was coming out of the woods. This is here in Mexico. So she was on talking all in Spanish, and I'm translating. But yeah, nonetheless, yeah, that would be great, dude. It would be maybe like the first week of November, something like that. I'll contact you. It's on a Friday in the evening. Your Central Time.
Yes.
Yeah, so to be like 7:45, something like that for you.
Okay.
That'll work for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is there
Plus,
anywhere people can reach out to you if they want to talk about their experiences or something like that, or you're just sharing with me?
I mean, they can share them with me if they want to. Chester Smith,
Uh-huh.
1975 at gmail.com.
And it's Chester Smith, 1975 at gmail. Oh, yeah, exactly. 5 years. I'm 80. Whatever it is again. Chester, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me today, man. We'll keep in touch. I promise you. I'll write you right after this, and we'll set a date. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, no
Okay.
problem.
And if you can send me those pictures as well, guys, you'll see these pictures right here. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And remember, this is the Eye Jupiter. We are the Eye. We are aware. Love you all, and have a wonderful day. You have been watching the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of your favorite interviews. And remember, we are the Eye, and we are aware.